What if the reason you never quite fit in is because you were never meant to? What if the ache you carry in your chest is not a wound, but a whisper? A quiet reminder that you are not like the others. You have always felt it. In rooms full of noise, your soul listened for something deeper. In moments of joy, you sensed an invisible weight pressing on your spirit. A sacred heaviness. A knowing you could never explain. You are not broken, you are not lost, you are chosen. But to be chosen is not what the world thinks. It is not applause. It is not favor. It is fire. It is silence. It is walking through the world with a secret so holy you dare not speak it aloud. There is something inside you that has not yet been named. A vision, a calling, a dream too fragile for daylight. And still the world keeps demanding answers, keeps asking you to explain what even you do not fully understand. You are the one who has dreams that feel like warnings, who senses shifts in the atmosphere before they happen, who walks into a room and feels the hidden grief behind every smile. You carry discernment like a burden. You see through masks without trying. You long for purity in a world addicted to noise. This is not madness. This is the mark. But here is the mystery. The more sacred your calling, the more silence surrounds it. There are things inside you that you must never reveal. Secrets so divine they can only be protected by your silence. You do not yet know the fullness of what God has entrusted to you. But heaven does. And so does the enemy. Which is why he waits watching, hoping you will speak too soon. Before you were formed, you were known. Before you were born, you were marked. And before you ever understood the weight of your own dreams, the war had already begun. Today, I want to speak directly to that secret place within you, the part of you that has been waiting for someone to say what you have always felt but could never put into words. This is not just a message. It is confirmation, a divine interruption, and if you will listen with your spirit, not just your ears, you will hear something ancient rising to the surface. Because some things must never be revealed, and it is time you understood why. Let us begin. Your dreams and divine blueprints, the seeds that must stay buried. There are dreams you've had that you never asked for. Visions that came in the stillness of night or in the quiet space between your pain and your prayers. They were not ordinary dreams, they were glimpses, fragments of something holy, blueprints whispered by God into your spirit before you ever had the language to explain them. And yet, if you are truly one of the chosen, you already know this truth. Those dreams are not meant for everyone. To be chosen is to be trusted with mysteries. And every mystery begins in silence. Like a seed planted beneath the soil, your dream must go unseen before it can grow strong. When Joseph shared his vision too soon, he was thrown into a pit by his own brothers. Not because the dream was false, but because it was exposed before it was rooted. Revelation that is spoken prematurely becomes vulnerable to jealousy, sabotage, and spiritual distortion. The enemy cannot read your mind, but he listens to your words. And when you reveal your dream without discernment, you offer him a strategy to destroy what God intended to build. Even Mary, chosen to carry the Son of God, did not rush to explain her calling. She held the angel's words close and pondered them in her heart. She did not run to announce what heaven had declared in private. Because the womb of a promise is sacred. It must be protected from noise, from doubt, and from the shallow soil of public opinion. Some of the most dangerous moments in your spiritual life are not when you are in battle, but when you are on the edge of breakthrough. When God shows you what is to come, there is a holy fire that rises within you. But that fire is meant to purify you, not promote you. Your dream is not a display piece, it is a covenant. And every covenant must first be sealed in secret. Let what God whispered remain where it was spoken, in the secret place, speak only when the Spirit gives release. Until then, protect your dream like a fragile flame. Because what begins in silence will in God's time speak louder than anything you could ever say. Let us now turn to the second sacred silence every chosen one must learn to keep. Your family's wounds and wars protect the inner sanctuary. There is a hidden altar within every chosen one, and more often than not, that altar was first shaped in the shadows of family pain. You were born into bloodlines that carried both blessing and burden, cycles you didn't choose, wounds you didn't cause. But somehow you've always known that your presence in that family was not random. It was redemptive. To be chosen often means being placed within a broken sanctuary. A house where peace was fragile, where love came with conditions, or where silence was louder than screams. And yet God placed you there like a healing seed. Not to expose the cracks in the temple, but to rebuild what had been lost for generations. The enemy knows that the quickest way to crush a calling is through family division. If he can convince you to speak in bitterness instead of interceding in love, he gains ground. If he can turn your frustration into gossip, your pain into accusation, your testimony becomes a weapon against your own blood. Noah's sons offer a warning. When their father fell into shame, one exposed him. The other two covered him with honor. Only those who carry the spirit of honor are entrusted with restoration. Even when dishonor surrounds you, your calling is to cover, to pray in secret, to guard the dignity of those who may never understand your purpose. Not every argument is meant for public ears. Not every family issue belongs on social media. Your household is not content. It is consecrated ground. And what happens there, especially in moments of weakness, must be handled with reverence. Even Jesus, rejected by his own family, never shamed them. He bore their misunderstanding in silence, waiting for the day they would see clearly. Chosen one, protect the inner sanctuary. Intercede for your family even when you feel like a stranger in your own home. Because what you guard in silence, God will restore in glory. There is another kind of silence that chosen ones must learn. The silence that follows victory. And the wisdom to know when not to speak it aloud. Your early victories do not shout when the cement is still wet. There are moments in your life when the breakthrough finally arrives. After years of waiting. After prayers that felt unanswered. After nights when you almost gave up. The door opens, the healing begins, the opportunity presents itself. And everything in you wants to shout, to share, to celebrate. But if you are truly chosen, you must discern this sacred truth. Early victories are not trophies, they are tests. When David defeated Goliath, the battlefield shook. But he did not run to the palace with a trumpet. He did not declare himself king. He returned to the quiet. Back to the wilderness, back to the unseen place where God could shape him in solitude. Because David knew what many do not. A single battle does not make a reign. A single open door does not mean the foundation is ready to carry the weight of your destiny. Early victories are fragile. Like cement that has just been poured, they must be left untouched, undisturbed, until they set deep and solid. If you walk on them too soon, you leave permanent damage. And if you speak of them too loudly, you invite warfare before you are ready to stand. The spiritual realm listens closely to those who celebrate too early. The enemy is always searching for momentum to interrupt favor, to frustrate, and blessing to burden. A public victory that was meant to be hidden can quickly become a battlefield you were not yet called to fight on. Even Jesus, when performing miracles, often said, "Tell no one." Not because he was ashamed, but because he understood divine timing. There is power in waiting. There is protection in silence. When you hold your victory close, you give it room to mature, to deepen, to become unshakable. Let what God has done in your life speak when He is ready, not when you are excited. The fruit will reveal itself in time. Until then, let the roots grow deep in quiet soil. But even in victory, the temptation to reveal more does not end. There is another trap the chosen ones must avoid: the display of provision, the announcement of prosperity, the unveiling of what was meant to remain between you and God, your financial state. Hidden provision is stronger than public wealth. Provision is sacred when you are chosen. It is not just money, it is manna. It is the quiet evidence that heaven sees you, feeds you, and funds your mission in ways that do not always make sense to others. But when provision begins to flow, when doors open and needs are met, when the wilderness begins to bloom, there is a temptation to announce it, to prove that the struggle had a reward, to show the doubters that God did in fact come through. But in that temptation lies a trap. Hezekiah welcomed foreign eyes into the storehouse. He opened every door, revealed every treasure, and what followed was devastation. The Babylonians who once admired his wealth returned later to take it, because what is displayed too freely becomes vulnerable too quickly. Not every favor from God is meant to be flaunted. Some blessings are meant to be carried in quiet gratitude, not broadcast as proof. When you boast in your increase, you open the door to spiritual attacks you were never meant to fight. You attract envy. You stir unnecessary warfare. You invite manipulation disguised as support. And slowly, what was a gift becomes a burden. What was meant to lift you begins to weigh you down. Jesus walked in divine provision but never used it for spectacle. He multiplied bread and fish but withdrew when they tried to make him king. He told Peter to find a coin in a fish's mouth for the temple tax, but said nothing more of it. His miracles provided what was needed, not what was showy. And that is the model for the chosen ones. Your financial journey is part of your testimony, but not all of it must be told. Let your giving speak louder than your gaining. Let your stewardship reveal more than your spending. True prosperity is not what others see in your hand, but what God sees in your heart. Guard your increase, not from lack but from exposure. Because what you protect in secret, God multiplies in safety. And now we arrive at the most sacred silence of all, one that touches the realm between heaven and earth, a silence that holds the weight of the unseen, the encounters that marked you, that changed you, that no one else would believe even if you told them. Your spiritual encounters. Some mysteries are not for human tongues. There are moments when God steps into your life so quietly, so powerfully that time itself seems to stop. A dream that clings to your spirit even after you wake. A voice in the silence that knew your name. A presence in the room that turned your fear into tears without words. If you are chosen, you have tasted this. You have touched the edge of the eternal, and yet even in the wonder, something in you knew. This is not to be shared. Spiritual encounters are not spiritual performances. They are invitations into deeper intimacy. And not all intimacy belongs in the open. Some of what God shows you is not to inspire others, but to transform you. The mystery is not meant to be explained. It is meant to be lived, reverently, quietly, until it bears fruit in your character, not just your conversation. Paul was caught up to the third heaven. He heard things too holy for human words. But instead of building a ministry on the experience, he said nothing. He let the vision shape his inner man. John the Revelator was told to seal up what the thunders spoke. Not because it was false, but because it was too divine to be spoken at the wrong time. And Mary again, when overshadowed by heaven, hid the angel's words in her heart. Not every miracle she lived was shared. Some were stored like treasure. To speak of sacred things too soon is to risk their distortion. What is holy becomes spectacle. What is mystery becomes misunderstood. The wrong audience can turn your oil into dust. The wrong timing can turn revelation into ridicule. Chosen one, you must discern the difference between testimony and temptation. The enemy loves when we trade sacred silence for spiritual applause, when we turn encounters into currency. But the deepest power is carried in those who can see heaven and still walk the earth quietly. Let your encounters remain holy. Guard them like a flame in the wind. Speak only when God says, speak. Share only when He says, share. And even then speak with trembling, because to carry mystery is to carry weight, and that weight is not always meant for the world. Let this be the silence that seals your calling, the reverence that protects your oil, the quiet that confirms you are not just called, you are entrusted. There is a holiness in hidden things, a beauty in what the world cannot see. And if you are truly one of the chosen, then you already know. You have carried mysteries in silence. You have walked through battles with no witnesses. You have been misunderstood not because you are wrong, but because you are marked. You are not here by accident. You are here by design. Not everyone will understand your restraint, your silence, your hesitation to reveal, but heaven does. To be chosen is to walk a narrow road paved with paradox. The louder your calling, the quieter your preparation. The greater your assignment, the deeper your concealment. And while the world chases recognition, you are being shaped in secret. It is not punishment, it is protection. God is not hiding you from people, He is hiding you for purpose. So if your soul feels heavy with things unsaid, it is because they were never meant to be spoken before their time. If your story has unfolded slowly, it is because God is writing something eternal. And if your journey feels lonely, it is because sacred things are rarely seen by the crowd. You are not less for keeping your mouth closed. You are wise. You are trusted. You are being preserved in the shadows while others burn in the spotlight. Hold fast to the silence that protects your dreams. Guard the dignity of your family. Let your victories root in the soil of secrecy. Carry your provision with humility. And cradle your spiritual encounters like treasure, not trophies. If this message has stirred something in your spirit, then you already know this is not the end. It is a door, a call back to the quiet place, to the secret room where God still whispers. Before you go, I invite you to honor the weight of what was shared. Like this message if it spoke to you. Share it with those who are also walking the hidden path. And subscribe if your soul longs for more sacred revelation like this. But most of all, speak in the comments, not everything, but something. A sign that you too are listening. A sign that you too are one of them. The world may never fully understand who you are, but heaven already does, and it is enough.